You want to talk about excellence?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I love it. I mean, it's I feel like we talk about it all the time. I don't get tired of talking about it. It doesn't matter if it's like to people we're coaching or if it's as practitioners like our team. Like, I don't think you can talk about it too much.
I think it's something we also don't mind talking about because it's something we're always trying to get better at. And so therefore it is always on our mind.
Yeah.
Of how do we become more excellent in this as well.
Yeah.
Which is cool. What do you feel like excellence looks like in an organization? Obviously right now, leading citizens, leading Sidecar. So there's excellence in a nonprofit space, excellence in a business space as well. But what does excellence look like to you within an organization?
Whenever people ask me that, I always think of, remember that passage of scripture, is it 1 Kings 10? Yeah. 1 Kings 10. It talks about the Queen of Sheba. She hears this reputation about Solomon, King Solomon and his palace, the thing that he had built, about how excellent it was. And so she's like, okay, I need to go see this for myself. And it says that when she walks in, she begins to observe just the excellence of everything, like the servants that are serving, that are like the way the food is laid out, and just like the way that everything has been put together. And it says it took her breath away. It was a breathtaking experience. And then her comment was, she said, truly the half was not even told of this place. And I think I always think of that passage because as a person that's leading a church or leading a business is when you think of marketing and advertising is great, but the greatest marketing and advertising is actually when you have built a brand and that reputation, it goes out and it hits people and prospective clients or prospective guests to come to your church. They hear about it from somebody else and somebody's like, you got to come and check this out. And I think oftentimes it's excellence that does that. Yeah. Obviously with a church, it can be other things, the presence of God, good teaching and preaching of the word, hospitality, all that. But I do think that the guest experience and the excellence of what you're creating creates that attractional kind of quality.
I agree.
People want to come in and the hope would be that there's congruency between what they've heard about you and what they actually experience. Yeah. And then the thought would be that we create a breathtaking experience where people see the excellence of what we've been building, what we've been trying to do and to put together, and that they go, truly the half was not even told.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I always think from a concept of excellence, but practically, I think excellence, if you just boil it down, it's doing the very best that you can, like this controllables.
Doesn't mean that you have the best.
Right. It just means you're doing the very best that you can. That's effort with what you've been given. That's resource. And depending on if you're a new church, a church that's well established, a new company, a startup, or you're raking in the dough, that doesn't have to determine what your level of excellence is, because excellence is about just simply doing the very best with what you have. Yeah. And it's more than, or it's greater than perfectionism. I don't think excellence is perfectionism. I think it's actually putting your very best effort towards that which you've been entrusted with.
Yeah, I think that's great. The other thing I think of when I think of excellence is not just what you do with what you have, but I think it's how you do your job. Yeah. And I think it's of who you are as well. In the podcast recording studio that we're at today, I always think of the guy who's the doorman here. Yeah. He wasn't there today, but in the past he's been there. And you walk in and he's a doorman at a building. It's a job that a lot of people might look down on, but he greets people with a smile. He's asking you how your day is. I can't tell you how many times we've walked in and he's encouraged us somehow just through the interactions that we've had with him. Yeah. He's so helpful with everything. And I think that while he's not necessarily doing anything with the environment, he is still creating an excellent environment because of how he's doing his job as well. And so I think there's excellence in how you show up to the environments that you create as well.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't know you were going to mention him, which I totally agree. But here's when I think of excellence and specifically with that guy, I think of one word: consistency. Yeah. It's the same every single time. Same attitude, same experience. He's giving his very best with the job that he has. And I think that's a big part of excellence. You can't have one-off excellent moments. Yeah. Doesn't mean you're not going to have mistakes or you're going to drop the ball somewhere. It happens to all of us. Yeah. Problem with the sound, problem with, screen, problem with whatever. But I think the pursuit, and that's what we say at our church, is that excellence is our pursuit. Yeah. That you're constantly pursuing, getting better and better and better, doing the very best with what you have. But the key is consistency.
Yeah.
Is that there's a consistent experience. Like we've all been to the restaurant that we love, and we've gone to it 7 times and had the chicken parmesan, and then we go to it the 8th time, and the experience is just not consistent.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, well, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Then you go back and it's good again 2 times. Right. And then the 3rd time it's inconsistent.
Yeah.
Well, that's not excellence.
Yeah.
Excellence is that consistency of that experience that you're having. So I also think that like, I'd love for us to talk about at some point, just the weight of feeling like you have to be perfect. Like it has to be perfect every time. Or like maybe even if you're on a team and you feel that from your leader above you, like how do you deal with that when you feel like they're almost like obsessing over things to the point where it's almost crushing your spirit? Like I'd love for us to like chat about that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I think I'm someone, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, I'm a 1 on the Enneagram.
Perfectionist.
Which is the perfectionist. And so it's easy for me not to even try to do something unless I feel like I can be perfect at it because I don't want to be wrong at it. And so I think it's a constant tension that you have to fight. And then I think also, to your point of working with the leader, I think that I want to work with the leader who's excellent. Yeah. Because I want to be proud of the work that I'm doing.
That's great.
And of the work that I'm putting my hands to. That doesn't mean that we're going to be perfect at everything, to your point. But I do want to work with someone who has an excellent standard because the work matters and it should be done well, especially if we work in a church space. And so I think with that, you've got to figure out what are the things that matter the most to your leader. Yeah. And make sure you're excellent in those things because there might be areas that they don't care about. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be excellent in them, but you need to make sure that you're prioritizing what their priorities are as well.
Are you an executive leader looking to level up? Or are you leading a team that could use a crash course into effective leadership? Our Leadership Masterclass teaches 7 essential leadership skills that you can implement immediately with your team. These are practical, proven strategies to help you lead with clarity and confidence. If you're ready to transform your leadership, sign up today at sidecarleader.com and get started with resources that you can use right away.
I also think that excellence within the church space can get a bad rap at times.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to talk through that a little bit. About
that's one of my favorite things.
Not only why excellence matters in general or in the business space or in a customer service space, but why does excellence matter in the church? And I have my thoughts on it, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, yeah, I mean, the phrase that I always think of is excellence. It honors God and it inspires people. Mm-hmm. Like that's where I boil it down to for me is I have a core conviction that when I give my very best and I try to do it with excellence, that actually honors God.
Yeah.
It's part of worship to me. And when I don't give my best, then I'm not being a good steward with what I've been given. That could be a speaking opportunity where I didn't have an excellent spirit in the preparation process. So that means I did not steward the opportunity well. Or that could be that I just, I wasn't fully present in a counseling session. Like it's not just about creativity and production and all that stuff. It's about being an excellent person. The Bible says that it's talking about Daniel, and remember Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that whole story in the book of Daniel. But it said Daniel had an excellent spirit.
Yeah.
And I think when you have an excellent spirit, it's who you are. It's not just what you do.
Yeah.
And when it is who you are and it's a core conviction, it should permeate into all the different areas of your life, And so at a core level for me, I view excellence as this is something to honor God, but it's also to inspire other people,
Yeah, that's great. I also think that excellence creates comfort.
Oh, yeah.
For people. And if you think of a lot of times we say at the church that we're a part of, that the primary space we help people to know God is on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And so if we want people to experience God on a Sunday morning, how do we take as many barriers down for them so that they're comfortable and can be in the moment to have that moment to experience God? Rather if there's noise happening in the background or there's a mess and the space just feels cluttered. So you just don't feel like you can think clearly, or, the kids check-in experience was just chaotic. So then you're just frustrated coming into service based off of that. Yeah. But I think an excellent experience, it does break down walls for people to a degree and just allows them to be comfortable enough to be able to experience what's happening in the moment.
I think the other thing with this as it relates to church is it's fascinating to me how many times people can pit the presence of God against excellence. And they're like, all that stuff doesn't matter. It's all about the presence. I'm like, I love the presence of God. I'm all about the presence of God. But when I read the Bible, I see that there are details. God is a detail-oriented God. Like, look at the ark. Look at the temple. Look at the tabernacle. Look at the details that are all throughout Scripture.
And they didn't just use the supplies that would get them by.
Oh, right.
They were using the best.
The very best.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and I'm like, I view church like this when it comes to excellence. Excellence is like you're hosting a dinner party at your house and you're setting the table and you're just thinking through every detail. We just had a kind of a Friendsgiving type thing at our house. And my wife poured her heart and soul into making sure the environment was like just put together. It was beautiful. And we all commented on it. It was amazing. But the table, how it was set, was not the main attraction. It was just part of facilitating a moment and connection around the table. And I view excellence in the church the same way. It's like, we're just setting the table for people to come in with a distraction-free, like what you're talking about, environment, so that they can encounter the presence of God. It's not more important than the presence of God, but it paves the way for people to have that encounter with God. And so I'm pretty passionate about it. I think my tendency, I fall, it's like one of my mentors said, you fall off the log on one side or the other. In a lot of these topics, like teaching and preaching, you either naturally a preacher or naturally a teacher. I think if you look at excellence and presence, if you use the kind of the biblical framework there, I have a value for presence, but I fall off the log on thinking through excellence. It's just the way that God's wired me. And so my question for you would be like, what about those leaders that's just not really something that they think about? What do they do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one is you are going to lead out of who you are.
Right.
And so I don't think you should try to be something you're not.
Right.
But I do think the point of what we're trying to make is excellence is not what we're after.
Right.
What we're after is helping people connect with God.
Yeah.
But we know that if we are excellent in how we do that, we are going to get a better or more likely outcome with people. And so I think I wouldn't view it as it's this thing that you have to put on, but it's a tool that you can choose to use or not to use. And I want to be someone who uses all the tools that are available to me to accomplish the mission that I feel like God has put in front of us. And so if excellence is one of those tools, I am going to use excellence in all that I can do to be able to help people know God in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Let me ask you this, because, in leadership, we've got to lead our teams. If it's at church, in our department, if it's a business that you're running, a nonprofit, you got to lead your team. So how do you, if you're the leader that you say excellence is something that I value, it's a pursuit that I have personally, but I want this to cascade down into every team and in my organization, like for the weekend, for the worship team, or the band or greeters or whatever, like talk about that. How do you communicate those expectations with clarity to set your team up so that they can support that vision of having excellence?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot there, to start off. I think one of the things that I've learned from you is the phrase clear is kind and unclear is unkind. So if you want people to be excellent in what they're doing, just be clear about it and be clear about what does that standard look like for them as well. And so I think I would just make sure that you have clarity of that. And with providing clarity of your expectations is what we talked about earlier, just writing down what are the areas that matter to me in this? Like what are the areas that, like, if I walk in on a Sunday morning, I want to know that these areas look like X, Y, and Z, so that, and give that to your team so that you don't tell them we're going to be excellent and then they're left to guess on what excellence is, because then they're probably going to miss the gap a lot until you actually do provide that clarity. So rather than living frustrated, just provide the clarity to people.
Here at Sidecar Leader, we don't just develop content that we hope adds value to you. Our bread and butter is really our coaching. If you're feeling stuck as a leader, whether you're navigating growth, strategic planning, staffing decisions, or tackling your toughest priorities, our one-on-one coaching sessions are here to guide you. Together, we'll identify the strategies and steps that will take your leadership to the next level. It's time to invest in your growth because your vision and your team deserve it. If you're ready to get started, you can visit sidecarleader.com/coaching. We can't wait to work alongside of you.
I think one of the things that we use that's been a really helpful tool is the Fresh Eyes report. And it's just a framework that we have used to be able to list off for the different areas of our church: signage, environments, clarity of next step, kids check-in experience, smell, was there music playing in the lobby? Like we just have a grid that lists all of those areas out, and we give it to people in our church who are leaders over those areas so that they know this is what winning looks like in that area. And I think that's what people just need to know. What does winning look like when it comes to excellence in my areas? And I think it's our responsibility as a leader to be able to paint that picture.
I think it's good though. Like, the name of it is Fresh Eyes, right? But the reality is that people on your team or your staff, they may not have fresh eyes anymore because they've seen the same thing so much. Like right now there's something on like one of the walls in our house that it's like basically the paint is all chipped up and messed up. And when it first happened, I was frustrated and I was like, oh man. Well,
and you noticed it every
time.
And I'm
like, I noticed it every time I walk by. Like, oh man, I got to fix that. Well, guess what? It's been like 6 months and I don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to fix it. But the point is that you can see something for so long, you no longer see it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of teams and staff that they've been seeing the weekend for so long.
Yeah.
Or they've been seeing what they do and how they do it for so long. Or maybe there's emotional attachment to how they do it.
Yeah.
And they've lost fresh eyes and they have emotional attachment. And so it's hard for them to make the call or make the decision because they don't even know it. They're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
So that they can get better. So one of the best things you can do is get somebody else to come in and do a fresh eyes evaluation. Some people call it like secret shopper or whatever. Yeah. But I think about it, even recently, like we had someone for Sidecar, we hired out to come in to an event that we were a part of that we're kind of tasked to help it get better. Mm-hmm. But we didn't even trust ourselves because we had
been to the event.
Yeah, we've been going to the event. And so we're like, we don't even trust our eyes. We don't have fresh eyes anymore. We have a perspective, but it's limited because we've been here so much. And so we had that person come and do it. And we read the report and we were like, oh, wow, we didn't even see that.
Yeah.
This is really good insight, really good perspective. But I want to move in this for a second and get your thoughts, because whenever we gave some of that feedback, and we've done it to numerous churches, but whenever we gave just presented the cold facts, this is what the person's perspective was with the fresh eyes, we were met with a little bit of defensiveness.
Yeah.
Speak to that a little bit. Like, feedback is our friend. We say it all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it is very natural and it's very human. If you have put your heart into something or put your hands onto something, you are going to feel some level of attachment to it. Yeah. Because it is a symbol of you. You've put your hands to that.
It's your baby.
Yeah, it's your baby. So therefore you are going to have some attachment to it. And so I think it is natural to feel some of that at times of it's hard to hear the feedback because you know why you did it that way and you feel like you have all the context for it. I think it comes down just to being someone who is a learner and having this spirit of, I always want to learn and I always want to get better.
Yeah.
We've been doing, we do 52 weekends a year, but how do we get better at the next one as well? And I think that so much of being able to, whether it's growing in excellence, growing in creativity, growing in innovation, it just comes down to being curious about how can we get better and knowing that there's always room to get better. I think where you start to see organizations that we call it the life cycle, they get to the top of the life cycle and then they start to go down to the other side, is because they think that they have arrived. Yeah. They think that they've made it and they are more married to the method than the mission.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to know that the mission is going to stay the same, but the method and how we're doing it, we can't be married to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that you have so many examples of how that's changed in your own leadership or how you've had to, be willing to receive feedback.
Yeah.
But I just think you've got to be more married to the mission than to the method. I'd be curious to hear from you, part of excellence in an organization is having an excellent spirit yourself. But then I think it's cultivating a culture of excellence. And I think the organization, that we talked about recently, they have an excellent culture, a culture of excellence in the events that they put on and the spaces that they create. Yeah. It is natural to them to be excellent. And so I'd be curious to hear from you. How do you set that culture? Not to where people just think of, here's the task that I need to do to be excellent, but they're just naturally thinking in spaces that you haven't clearly laid out what excellence looks like, they're still able to embody that.
I think anytime you're talking about building a culture of excellence, culture of generosity, culture of whatever, culture of feedback. When you're building a culture as the leader and you're the primary person that's responsible for the culture, if you don't like what you see, you got to point the first finger at yourself, not at your staff. The onus and the responsibility is on me. If I don't like what I see, it's on me. That's what I say. If I don't like what I see, it's on me. That's the first stop. And so when you're trying to build a culture intentionally, because the onus and the responsibility lies on me first as a leader, is I have to model what I want multiplied. That's the phrase that I always tell myself.
That's great.
I've got to model what I want multiplied. If I want to see a culture of excellence, I've got to practice and personify excellence, not just at work, but with my family, with the way, we were talking about this earlier, like I get frustrated with myself as a leader if I get into my vehicle and it's just dirty. I haven't taken care of it. I'm like, the first thing I think is if someone on the team got in my car, would I be embarrassed because of this?
Yeah.
That means that I'm not being excellent.
Yeah.
Because this isn't excellent.
Yeah.
And because excellence is who you are. It's not just what you do. It should permeate everywhere. And so I think the first thing that I try to think of is I've got to, if I'm going to produce a culture of excellence, I have to first audit myself and ask, am I being excellent? Or what are the areas that I need to get better? What are the areas that I need to grow in? What are the areas that I need to survey and say, is this honoring God and inspiring other people? Because if it's not honoring God and inspiring other people, or it could honor God more and inspire people more, then I need to adapt. I need to grow in these particular areas. So the phrase that I heard someone say a long time ago, they say, you reproduce who you are, not what you want. So you can want a culture of excellence, but if you're not personifying that, you'll never reproduce that.
Yeah.
Leaders reproduce themselves. So if you're sloppy, you're going to reproduce a sloppy organization. If you're excellent, you'll reproduce an excellent organization.
Yeah.
And people will follow your lead on that. But you have to lead with clarity, as you talked about. You have to have specific expectations, and you have to be gracious with people. You're the leader because you're the leader.
Yeah.
And they're probably not going to be there yet. And your job is to teach them, is to train them and to show them the way.
It's great.
You're going to have new people come on your team, but they're not going to have an excellent spirit yet. And that's okay. Train them. It's not a prerequisite to be on the team, but it will be to remain on the team.
Yeah.
And so you got to train them. You have to teach them. You have to show them, be patient with their development because someone was patient with yours.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that. You have to model what you want multiplied. Because I think it's easy to think that culture is taught.
Yeah.
But I think so much of culture is actually caught.
Yeah.
And it's just through being with each other.
Yeah.
And seeing how those values naturally come out and rub off on each other. So I think that's great.
Is your team ready to thrive? Do they have the resources and clarity that they need to succeed? In our team coaching sessions, we provide the tools and principles needed to drive health and growth, and most importantly, clarity in your organization. We believe that clarity brings the confidence to lead effectively. So many times we're too close to the problems to see them correctly. And through coaching, we're able to bring objectivity and no emotional attachment to help you see your organization clearly. Together, we'll develop a strategic path that empowers your team to implement best practices and take on new challenges with confidence. Let's unlock your team's potential. Want to learn more? Head over to sidecarleader.com/coaching and let's talk about your goals and how we can help you accomplish them.
I'm curious, maybe you can speak to this in your own life or even in creating culture with others. How do you create a culture that is in pursuit of excellence, but that it doesn't hinge on perfectionism? Because I think that it can be easy to lean, like you said, you will lean on off the log one way or the other. For people who do lean on the side of excellence and it's natural to them, too far is perfectionism in a way that can burn you out or burn your team out because you're living in constant frustration that you're not hitting that mark. So I'm curious, how do you pursue excellence without trying and striving for perfectionism?
Yeah, I think that early on, as a leader, I was going after perfectionism, and I didn't realize it. I thought that was excellence. I thought that it was everything being perfect and there was no mistakes. Nothing was messed up. Everything was in order. And then I realized one day how many people I was crushing their spirit by the way that I responded and reacted to them trying to give their best. Specifically, it was people within the creative space, like production or worship, audio or whatever. And I would react rather than respond. Leaders respond, fools react.
That's great.
And I would react to something that I didn't like. Something played at the wrong place on screen, the bumper video didn't play, or this, that, whatever. And I would react in the moment, and I begin to see the pattern of how I was crushing the spirit of the people that God had entrusted to me. So then I had to learn that you don't have to compromise the pursuit of excellence, but you do have to temper your response and think diligently and thoughtfully on how can I help this person get better. It's not about getting the thing done.
Yeah.
It's about getting the person developed.
Yeah.
And that's a paradigm shift. That's like the framework has to shift there. And that happened for me over time. And so then like practically what that looked like is I would see something that I didn't like, and rather than react, if it wasn't mission critical to the moment, I would just make note of it and bring it up in an oversight in your 101, bring it up in a debrief.
Yeah.
And you're not criticizing a person, but you are critiquing the construct or the framework or the programming or whatever. And but you can do it in a way where you ask questions. Like we say it all the time, like scale from 1 to 10, remove the 7. Yeah. How do you feel like, you did, production manager? And they're like, a 5. Okay, what cost you the 5 points? And they tell you 90% of it, they already know. And you can just affirm that I could see that. How do you think it could be better?
Yeah.
And let them respond. And so by using questions, you're helping them to think critically about that.
Yeah.
And then you can give them one piece of feedback. Feedback is our friend. You want to give that. But I think I just had to learn to stop reacting.
Yeah.
Stop reacting, respond in a way that's like, it's not about the thing getting better. It's about you getting better, us getting better, so we can accomplish our mission.
Yeah. And I think you do a great job of that. Obviously, you have a high standard for excellence, but on a Sunday morning, and we're a newer church. So there's things that we're great at on some Sundays, and other Sundays it's not so great in. But you don't come in like this bull in a china shop, stepping on toes and calling things out every Sunday.
Most of the things that we see, though, you tell me this all the time, most of the things that you and I see,
no one else
sees it. And so don't freak out about it.
Yeah. And so what you do is you just write it down. And I know we're going to call each other on Sunday and we're going to ask each other how we thought it went, or we'll talk about it in our service planning meeting that week, and a space that it is more appropriate to call it out so that you can get better for the next week as well. So that's great. I want to ask you about this. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but obviously if it's in worship leading or if it's in communication, there's still going to be some standard of excellence for those. And how do you manage the tension of holding an excellent standard in those spaces while also developing people in the process of that? Because you've always done a great job of developing leaders. And I think it's easy when you're developing someone and you're giving opportunities to someone in an area that's new for them, that maybe it doesn't meet the standard, but they're being developed in the process. Yeah. And so do you hold on to the development, or do you hold on to the standard? Yeah. How have you managed that tension in your own leadership journey?
Yeah, you don't have to compromise either one of them. You can hold on to your standard, and you can train your people, develop your people. The phrase that we like to say is we equip through the dip.
Yeah.
So if excellence is the goal, then you'll never use new people. You'll never give people opportunity that are new, that have potential, which means you'll never develop them, which means you're not utilizing or stewarding these people that God has entrusted to you. But in order to do that, there may be a dip. Like they may dip the quality of whatever it may be, if it's running audio, if it's creating a design, whatever. Now you can't have that every Sunday. You can't have that every week, right? But you should have those opportunities from time to time where you give someone an opportunity and then you let them know, like, you're getting the opportunity. And part of the process of getting the opportunity is we give you feedback.
Yeah.
And that's just part of our culture. And that piece right there is where you equip through the dip.
Yeah.
Is that you sit down with them and you say, you give them some kind of framework that they can speak how they thought they did, and you can share how you thought they did.
What if your team had a clear roadmap for the next 12 months on what was most important, complete with objectives, key metrics, owners, and deadlines? And not only that, but also the accountability to see the plan through. Through our team planning offsites, we're able to help you unlock and identify where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. With a focus on goals, key metrics, and actionable strategies, we'll build a plan that keeps you on track all year and provide the accountability to ensure that you execute what you planned. If you plan your work and you work your plan will work if it's a good plan. If you're ready to set up your team for success, clarity, and a clear roadmap moving forward, you can go to sidecarleader.com/coaching, and let's make your vision a reality.
I'll give you an example. So we've talked about Trey before. He was production manager, just hired him at the church that I was at. We had probably like 3,000 students, pretty big deal, biggest job he's ever had. And he's now the creative producer of our program service. First time on the job, 6 locations, thousands of kids. There's a guest speaker speaking. And while he's speaking, his headset microphone is glitching out. And I'm sitting on the front row. Obviously, I notice it.
Right.
That's below standard for us. And so I look over at Trey, and Trey's face is red. He's got like little red splotchy things on his neck. He's sweating. I can tell he's freaking out.
Yeah.
And he gets up and he comes over to me. He goes, "Pastor Jason, what should I do?" And so I calmly looked at him. When I was younger, I would have never done this. I would have freaked out. But I looked at him and said, "Well, Trey, what would a great creative producer do in this moment?" And he looked at me. He was like, I don't know. What do you think I should do? And I was like, "Trey, what would a great creative director and producer do in this moment?" And he went and sat down, and he was like on his phone, probably texting people. I don't know what he was doing. And then he comes back over and he says, "Pastor Jason, I don't know what I should do. What should I do?" And I said, "What would a great creative director do in this moment?" He said, "A great creative director would ask his executive pastor what he should do in this moment." And then I said, "Hey man, what do you think you should do?" And he said, "I think this is what I should do." And he said the call. And I said, "Great, go be great."
Yeah.
And he made the decision. And there were things that I probably would have done a little bit differently. I did not correct him in the moment, but I waited till our one-on-one meeting. And I just asked him, "Hey, Trey, when that moment happened, scale from 1 to 10, remove the 7. How do you think you did? 1, you botched it. It was a dumpster fire. 10, you crushed it. How do you think you did?"
Yeah.
And he said, I think he said it was a 6. What cost you the points? And so we went through that. But that, I think, when you react and you give people some critical feedback in the moment where they're vulnerable or whatever, where it's just not even needed in that moment, I think that's where you can lose people and crush people. But what happens when you have a moment where it's the safe place to say dangerous things, to say hard things, to give critical feedback, and they know that you believe in them and you want what's best for them, that's a culture of grace.
Yeah,
that's a
great.
Culture of development. So I think that's where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like feedback is really the thing that allows you to be able to develop people while also holding the standard of excellence or whatever your standard is in those areas as well. That's great. I'd love to ask you this. How do you maintain high standards of excellence while also encouraging creativity and risk-taking, not being afraid of trying something new just for the sake of, will this be as excellent as the thing that we've always done?
Yeah. Man, that's a great question. I'd love to hear from you on that one. I think, again, excellence isn't the goal. It's a pursuit that we have.
Yeah.
And creativity is not the goal either. I think that when you start obsessing over being creative and innovative, that can almost become an idol, and that's the thing you're pursuing. That's not my pursuit. My pursuit is effectiveness.
Yeah.
You can be very creative and not effective at all.
Yeah.
That's not leadership.
Yeah.
You may be like a abstract artist, but we're talking about leadership.
Yeah.
You want to be a great leader. It's not just about being creative or even being innovative. It's about having a mission and a vision and working hard towards that strategically and tactically so that you can accomplish it. And that's the goal, is to be effective.
Yeah.
But I do think that at times, for you to innovate and to try something new, you're going to have to take risk, which means taking risk means the standard may lower a little bit, but I think you got to view it a little bit like prototyping and like iterating. It's like this is one, 1.0. And even with that, like you're stepping out to do something creative, not releasing the value of excellence. Excellence actually is compatible to it, because like you step out and take risk and it dips a little bit. Mm-hmm. Excellence says, okay, how do we change this and adapt and get better? Yeah. What are our learnings? So literally you're prototyping.
Yeah.
Like the goal is not just to do something creative, but it's to be effective and then to prototype and get better even in that process. So you don't have to compromise in the areas.
Yeah, that's great. I think that comfort is often the enemy of creativity and of excellence. We just get comfortable with the way that we've been doing things. That's why I said earlier, we've got to be more married to the mission than the method. To your point, it's about being effective. How can we be as effective to the mission as possible? And I really think that curiosity is the thing that drives and helps us to not stay comfortable. To your point, thinking, how can we do this better? Is there a different way that we could be doing this that would actually be more effective?
Yeah.
What are the things that I don't see right now that I do want to bring fresh eyes into to understand how we can get better as well? And so I think being curious allows us to shake off comfortability in a way where we can pursue excellence and creativity, ultimately to become as effective as possible to the mission that we have.
That's good. I like that. It's a good conversation. You know what I think would be great is maybe we can give people access to that fresh eyes form, to give them a framework. And I think you could use that. You can use that for a service, for an event, any of those things. I think another thing that would be helpful is the tool that we use, the 4 helpful list, or the 5 helpful list that talks about those things. You just got to get truth in the room. Like we talk about all the time. You're not going to grow and get better and better and become excellent in what you're trying to accomplish unless you have courage to face current reality.
That's great.
That we're not doing the best that we can. This is not our best work. We can get better. And then you get some strategy around how you're going to accomplish that. So maybe if we can make that available.
Yeah, we'll make that available at the Leaders Login on our website.
Perfect.